Good morning, good afternoon, whichever one you are in. This is going to be the video for the box with the holes, okay, for holes notes, all right? So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to create a sketch on this plane right here, this being the Y and X plane. So I'm going to go ahead and create a rectangle of just a random size. Does not really matter right now because we're going to add some dimensions to it. So if we're reading our instructions, the first dimension that we need to add is going to be right down here at the bottom, a dimension of 5. Now that looked like it was 5, but you want to make sure. So add in that dimension exactly. Okay, and then the next dimension we're going to add is right here for the height. Now this dimension is going to be 3. Now it looks like I'm kind of on a roll for being almost perfect today, so we'll make sure that that is 3. All right, once we have that, I'm going to finish sketch and I'm going to extrude this box to a distance of 2 inches. Okay, so we should have a 3 by 5 by 2. And when I have this in the home view, I should have a 5 by 3 height and 2 depth. Okay, so this box should be standing upright just like so. Okay. If not, go ahead and reorient your part to where it is in the proper orientation. Okay. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create another new sketch, but this time on the top of the box, right? Because we need to make our drill points. So created a new sketch. I'm going to drop down the create tab and I'm going to click on point, the point tool. Now, if you look, if you hover over the middle line of this object, you'll see that there is a blue dashed line. It kind of snaps to the middle of that object. We're going to go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to place 4 random points along that middle line. Once I do that, now I'm going to go ahead and add in some dimensions. So the first dimension I'm going to add, if we're reading our instructions, is between this first point and the left-hand side. And I'm going to give that a dimension of 0.75. Then I'm going to add another dimension between those 2 points, dimension of 1. Between those 2 points right here, 1.25. And finally, between points 4 and 3, also 1.25. So I'm going to just go ahead and finish sketch, and you'll see that I have 4 reference points. Now, again, these reference points are for any sort of extrusion feature, whatever that you need. They're just reference points, so that way you can place specifically dimension points in certain areas, so that way you don't have to guess where you're going to add a feature. All right. Now that we have our 4 points, I'm going to click on the hole tool. And when I do that, you'll see it pops up with this dialog box. The first thing I want to do is I want to select the first reference point. Okay. And with that being said, we're going to go straight down this line. Placement, we're going to leave alone. Sketch points, I've selected, but then we're going to go to extend. So we're going to keep this at distance, but sometimes it will show that you're trying to extrude going upwards. And you'll know that by this arrow right here, as well as you'll get a little error message down here, a little red X, okay? You want to make sure that you flip the direction to where it shows red in your object. That means that it's being cut, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to read our holes notes. And the first type of hole that we have is going to be a counter bore, okay? So right here for the hole type, we have simple, counter bore, and countersink. I'm going to click on the middle one for counter bore. All right. And you'll notice that the little diagram down here on the box changes depending on what you select. Okay. So I'm going to keep it as counter bore. And then for the hole tap type, our options are simple, clearance, and tapped. Okay, there is a taper tapped, but that is ghosted out right now because that is not the selection that we are able to use. So I'm going to keep this one as simple. All right. It's a simple hole. There's no threads on it. Okay. And then finally, drill point. The drill point, if you're reading this off of the instructions, You won't be able to see what type of point it is from the side view, but you could kind of tell from the top view. If you have the smaller instructions, the half sheet in our notes, you'll see the side view and you'll see that the drill point is actually an angle point. All right. So from there, now I just need to add in all of my dimensions. Okay. So the first dimension that I'm going to look at is, if I'm reading my holes notes correctly, I'm looking for the entire height. Okay, so this one right here, I'm looking for the entirety of the hole, which means I'm looking at line 1. Okay, so for the depth of this hole, it's going to be 2 inches, right? Then the second dialog box right here, you'll see that the arrows are pointing side to side on the head of the hole. Okay, so now I'm going to jump down to the second line of our holes notes. And I'm going to look at the diameter, which is going to be a 0.75. Okay, and then I'm going to go right here to the third dialog box. It's going to talk about the depth of that head of the hole, and that is going to be 0.5. And then finally, I'm gonna leave the degrees alone, the angle on the hole tap type. Or the drill point. I'm gonna leave that alone, and I'm gonna drop down to the very last dialog box, which shows the diameter of the hole itself, which is going to be 0.5 as well. So once I have all that, you'll see it kind of preview right there. I'm gonna go ahead and click OK. And if you rotate your object around, you'll see that it shows how the hole is drilled. Okay. Now you'll also notice that the 4 reference points have disappeared. So in order to get those back, I'm going to go over here to the browser bar. I'm going to expand the browser, and I'm going to highlight sketch number 2. All right. From there, I'm going to click on the hole tool once again. I'm going to click on the second hole, because this one's going to be a different type. And if I read through my directions, it's going to be a countersink. All right. A countersink hole, simple drill tap type. Okay. And the drill point really doesn't matter, because this one is going to be all the way through. Okay. So for the extents, I can go ahead and select all. When I select all, that's going to show right here that it is a through. Okay. Then I'm going to go over here to the second dialog box. Again, that is the head of my hole. So that is going to be the second line of your hole's notes. And that diameter is going to be 1 inch. And then the degrees, 82 degrees. So we're going to leave that alone. And then we're going to drop down here to the very bottom, and that is going to be 0.50. And then we'll select OK. So there's the second hole. Now on to the third. So the third type is a very simple clearance hole. So if I go to the hole type, simple hole, and then the hole tap type, we're going to say clearance. All right. And then from there, again, the drill point doesn't matter, because the distance is going to be all. And then right down here, drill point, there you go. So the drill point does matter. Okay, so right down here, we're going to take a look at the diameter of this. Okay, so the diameter of your hole right here is going to be 0.50, which it's not letting me add that. Okay, so then we'll just go ahead and change that to a simple. I'll have to figure out why that doesn't do that. Anyways, so we're going to change that to a simple instead of a clearance. And we're going to change this diameter to 0.50. And then we'll just go ahead and select OK. And if we preview that, you'll see that that hole goes all the way through. All right. And last but not least, our final hole is going to be right here. Excuse me. And if I'm reading my holes notes, this is going to be a counter bore. We're going to see a drill point of an angle, and we're going to keep this hole tap type as a simple. All right. So up at the top, we have the extents of the hole is going to be 1 inch. the diameter of the hole is going to be 0.375, with the depth being, excuse me, 0.25. And then finally, the overall size of the hole itself is also going to be 0.25. And then we'll click OK. From there, that is your holes notes box, and you should be good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be part 2 of the holes notes, part of what you need to accomplish for the finality of this part. Okay, so once you have your object and everything, you need to make sure that you go ahead and save that. And we're going to save this as holes notes. Save. Okay, once we do that, we're going to go ahead and take this into a drawing file. So I'm going to go to drawing from design. I'm going to make sure that my Fusion drawing template is selected. Then we're going to click OK. It'll take a moment for this to load up, so please be patient. Clearly a long moment. Okay, so there we go. They have their part, it's attached to the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change the orientation to the top. Okay, and I'm going to place the top right here, but actually I'm going to change the scale to a 1, just to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to change that orientation to top, change the scale to 1, and I'm going to place my base view actually at the top this time. There is a reason for this. We'll show you here in a second. But go ahead and click OK. And once you have that there, you'll see that all your holes look how they would from the top. But what we need to do is we need to create a section view. And this is the reason why we started out with the top instead of the front view. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back over here to our ribbon, and we're going to create a section view. Okay, it's going to be this 4th tool. All right. Now, when you create a section view, what the first thing you need to do is you need to select the object that you want to create the section view on, the cutting plane line. So selected the object. Now I have this little A and the arrow attached to my cursor for the object. Now it's asking you, where do you want to start your cutting plane line? So I'm going to attach it right here to this green arrow or this green triangle, and that's in the middle of my part because that's where we want it. And I'm going to drag it across to this green arrow. Okay, and I'm going to click again. Once I do, I'm going to check mark that, and you'll see that I have a section view. Okay, you could drag that up. You'll see the arrows change directions. Okay, or you could drag it down. We want this to replace our front view. So I'm going to drag this down, and I'm going to select it and place it right there. And I'm simply going to click OK. Once I do that, you'll see that I have the section view, and then I can reorient this a little bit, just so that way it is placed appropriately. And I don't want to change that, so let's Control Z that. There you go. Okay, so once I have my section view, the next thing that I want to do is I'm actually going to create a projected view of my top view right here. Actually, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to hit escape. We're going to create another base view. And when we do a base view, it's going to bring our part again. And I'm going to need to change the scale again to 1:1, or just simply a 1. And I'm going to change my orientation to the right side view. So that way I can place that right in here. And then I want to make sure that visible and hidden edges are selected, and we'll click OK. So now that I have that right side view, okay, it is going to be roughly lined up right about here. All right. And then I'm going to, excuse me, select projected view one more time, but this time I want to click on, actually, I want to click a projected view from the section view. So that way I can do that and it will be a section view, okay? So I'm going to green check mark that and we'll have that simply like that, okay? Once we're done with that, apply all necessary dimensions. You have all the dimensions on your actual assignment. So those are the actual dimensions that you'll need, okay? Now, okay, so the next thing that you're going to want to do is we're going to want to create what we call a whole note on each of these features that you have created. So up here at the top, you're used to going to the dimension tool. We're actually not going to do that. We're going to go over here to the text tab category, sure. But you'll see this one right here that has the little square with the 4 holes on it. This is going to be a hole and thread note. Now it's going to open up this little dialog box over here, and simply the only thing that you have to do is you just have to select on your hole that you created. So this is going to be right here, and you'll see that it doesn't really preview with the holes notes until you click. All right. So once you click, it will give you your whole note. And then I'm going to do the same for this one, same for this one, and for that one. Once I have that, I'm going to select OK, and then I can kind of reorient these a bit. Hopefully, there we go. I can reorient these a bit just so that way they kind of fit on here a little bit better. And they just kind of look a little bit nicer and cleaner. All right. From there, simply all you have to do is save your parts, holes notes drawing, and then file and print. Once you print it, make sure that you select the 604 printer and you can change, or you can leave everything the same, but I want you to make sure that scale is fit to paper. All right. And then you could go ahead and print that. And once you're done with that, you are finished with the holes notes.